All right, what's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Fight Day MMA Show with your host, Kalen Nero, and my main man, Kanan Sonye. And today we're going to be giving you a pre-fight analysis for the UFC Fight Night, Figueiredo versus Benavidez. So today we're only going to be doing the main card just because we don't do preliminary cards with the smaller cards, just because it would take too much time. And not everyone's really interested in those lower-level fights. If you are really interested in our picks, just leave a comment or message us on one of the social medias, and we'll get back to you with our picks for those as well. But for that, we're not going to make anything in the video for it or add it to the podcast. So for the first fight of the night, we're going to start with Alexander Pantoja versus Askar Askarov. And I'm going to hand it over to Kanan to kind of give us a breakdown of that fight.
Well, Pantoja comes in this fight with a 22-4 record. He got 16 finishes, 62 in UFC, 4 finishes. His last fight, he had a KO in the first round over Matt Schnell. 3 of his last 4 fights have been in first-round finishes. So he's hot, man. He's lost his last loss was decision loss to Figueiredo, who's fighting in the main event of this card for the title, and he has a decision win over the number 3 fighter. He's ranked number 4 right now, but I think he's at number 4 because of that loss to Figueiredo. And Askar Askarov, he's 11-0-1. He has 10 finishes. He's coming in. He's a Dagestan boy. We grown accustomed to them boys from Dagestan. They're dangerous. He has a draw. He also has a fight against the number 3 ranked guy, and it ended in a draw. That was his UFC debut against the number 3 guy in the class, and it ends in a draw. He's 1-0-1 in the UFC, and it's going to be an interesting fight for sure. Pantoja comes in as a more well-rounded fighter. He's good on the ground. He's good on the feet. People say he's better on the feet. But Askarov comes in. He's a pressure fighter. He likes to push the pace. He likes to keep people moving. And he's definitely going to look to get you on the ground. He's going to look to finish you. 10 of his 11 fights are finishes. Right. And as we know, most guys from Dagestan, they know how to wrestle. Them boys know how to grapple. They know how to get you on the ground and control you there. And Askarov is the underdog in this fight, but I look for him to push the pace and do some great things. I'm looking for him in a possible upset in this fight, and I got Askar Askarov winning this fight.
So here's why you're wrong. Totally kidding. But so I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Alexander Pantoja, like you said, is the better, well-rounded fighter. Alexander Pantoja is definitely going to have the advantage whenever it comes to the feet exchanges, whenever they're on their feet, and the striking exchanges, I should say. Pantoja is known to put people away. I mean, he has heavy hands. And one thing I watched with Askarov is watching his fight with Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott was also a BJJ guy, very similar in kind of skill level in BJJ as Pantoja. And Elliott gave him a lot of trouble on the ground. He almost darsed him at one point in the fight. From there, so I'm kind of leaning towards Alexander Pantoja as well for my pick. So if you're going to bet with me, I would bet on Alexander Pantoja. He's more experienced. I think he's more well-rounded. And I definitely think he's going to have the advantage on the feet. And I think it's not going to be a big disparity on the ground game. I think Askarov will have an advantage. But I think Pantoja's BJJ will be able to keep him up. And or at least be able to allow him to make scrambles to get off of the ground. So yeah, for the next fight, we're gonna have Ariane Lipski versus Luana Carolina. For this one, these are two women who aren't very high ranked. Ariane Lipski is 12-5. She has 8 finishes, but she's 1-2 in the UFC, and all of her fights have gone to decision. So she doesn't get finished, but she also doesn't finish people. As for Luana Carolina, she's coming out from a Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, and she's 6-1 with 3 finishes, and she's 1-0 in the UFC. For me, I don't know much about these two fighters. I haven't really gotten to watch too much film on both of them, but I know from Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, they're constantly producing prospects. Sean O'Malley, Dan Ige. I want to say Macy Barber's a product of that show as well. So I always tend to pick with those people, especially early on against lower level ranked opponents, and then after that I'll start doing more of an evaluation on them. However, I think Carolina kind of has one bad thing about her, where 4 of her wins against people who are making their debut, their MMA debut. So that makes me a little nervous, but I think she's really talented, and Dana White doesn't necessarily sign people to contracts off the Tuesday Night Contender Series unless they're really good. Ask Dan Ige. Dan Ige didn't even get a contract at first. So the people who compete on that show are typically really good fighters and are ready for the big show. And I think Dana White made the right decision by bringing her here. So I'm going to pick her to win this fight. Kanan.
So in this fight, Carolina comes in with a 2-inch reach advantage over Lipski, but I believe that it's going to be experience that prevails all in this fight. all of their fights, their 4 fights combined in the UFC so far have all been decision fights. I don't think there's going to be a decision here. So I'm going to tend to lean with the more experience in this fight in Lipski because she is the more experienced fighter. She has 3 fights compared to Carolina, who has 1. I mean, she's fought ranked fighters. She fought Molly McCann in the last fight. She's fought ranked fighters. She hasn't. I mean, Molly McCann didn't look great in her last fight, but that's still experience that I don't think Carolina has. Like you said, Carolina's fought a lot of people who've been in their debuts.
Right.
4 of her 6 fights have been debut fights, pro debut fights for people she's fought. And I'm going to take Lipski because of the experience. I think that's the big thing for me.
It's respectable. All right, for the next fight, we have Mark Diakis versus Rafael Fiziev. I guess, guys, these names are absolutely impossible for me to pronounce without at least hearing them first. I know of Mark Diakis, the guy with the red mohawk. He's a savage. He hits super hard. He's 14-3 with 7 finishes. He's 5-3 in the UFC. He has 2 finishes and 3 decisions. He's only been finished once, and it was by Dan the Hangman Hooker, which is totally understandable. Dan's a savage as well. And then we have Rafael Fiziev, who's 7-1 with 6 finishes, and he's 1-1 in the UFC. And he's only been finished once, and it was in his UFC debut where he got knocked out. For this fight, I'm going to take Diakis just because he has the reach advantage. I think he has a 1.5-inch reach advantage, and I know he packs a lot of punch. And if the other guy is getting KO'd at the UFC level, Diakis is definitely a guy who can definitely go out there and shut your lights out at any time. So yeah, just for that alone, I think the experience level is going to play a factor too. Diakis doesn't really get tired. As for Fiziev, I've seen that kind of be a problem for him. So I think that Diakis is going to take this fight for sure.
So going with the aspect of Fiziev lasting, he's only fought past the first round twice in his career in his 8 fights. So I look for him to try to get the finish early, and if he doesn't, then I think it's over for him. If he does not get the finish early, then Diakis will work on him, he will pound on him, and he will outstrike him.
Similar to the Al-Hassan and Lanier fight last on 172.
Yeah, I got Diakis as well. I'm going. It's either decision or he's going to get Fiziev's going to get finished in the 3rd. It's going to be a late round fight. I don't think Fiziev win. I think he will gas early, and because he's not used to it, he hasn't done it. He's gotten 6 of his 7 wins or finishes.
I wouldn't bet against a first round finish for either one of these guys. Though these guys both pack the potential pop to put anybody to bed.
Yeah, but I think Diakis is going to win either by decision or 3rd round finish.
I agree. Now we're on to the big boy fights, guys. These are the ones that kind of get you excited, get you out of your seat. So for the co-main event, we got Kelvin Gastelum versus Jack Hermansson. Kelvin Gastelum, as we all know, recently fought Israel Adesanya for the interim middleweight championship whenever he was scheduled to fight Robert Whittaker, and Robert Whittaker got injured. But he ended up losing that fight, and then now he's on a 2-fight skid, losing to Darren Till recently. He's still 15-5 with 10 finishes, and he's 10-5 in his UFC career. And Jack Hermansson's still relatively new to the big scene. I mean, he kind of had the long route up, you know. But he's 20-5 in his career with 16 finishes, and he's 7-3 in the UFC with 5 finishes. Only problem is for Hermansson is that he did get knocked out by Cannonier in his last fight, which makes me a little nervous because I find Cannonier and Kelvin are very similar in their approach to the fight, where they're very boxing heavy and they like to get on the inside and really let the uppercuts and hooks go. However, I think Hermansson's a really good grappler. Hermansson's really, really funky in his movement, and he's really active, and he likes to move around the cage a lot. And he gave Jacare a lot of trouble, and Jacare is an amazing grappler and an amazing striker. I think Kelvin has the advantage striking over Jacare, but I think Hermansson will be able to kind of match that. And then if the fight goes to the ground, I don't think Gastelum is anywhere near the credentials that Jacare had, and Hermansson was able to handle him on the ground as well. So I think with this fight, I think Hermansson's path to victory is going to be taking Gastelum down, and Gastelum's takedown defenses in the mid-60s. So it's not like he's something that he's really proficient at. So yeah, I think Hermansson takes this one with the 3rd round decision. I think he just kind of takes him to the ground and beats him up. He could potentially maybe get a 2nd, 3rd round, like Armin guillotine or something like that, something like he pulled off in one of his more recent fights. I can't remember who he was fighting against, but he's very tricky with his submissions too. He hits submissions from weird angles. So I can see him potentially maybe finishing Kelvin a 2nd, 3rd round with a submission. But I would bet on a decision win for Jack Hermansson.
So what I see is Hermanson comes in with a 6-inch reach advantage over Gastelum. And I think that's a huge disadvantage for Gastelum because Gastelum is a striker. He's going to want to come in, throw some hands, but Hermanson got the reach advantage. He wants to get you to the ground. So if you come in, he's going to grab you.
Well,
He's going to get you and try to take you.
I will say this: Hermanson doesn't have as long a reach as Izzy or Adesanya. So I mean, Kelvin was sacrificing I think 8 inches of reach against Izzy, and he still did fairly well on the feet for most of the fight.
But he also against Izzy, he didn't have to worry about Izzy trying to take him to the ground.
That is true.
That wasn't something that he had to worry about because Izzy's not somebody that's going to try to take you to the ground.
Right.
And I think that's where he's going to struggle with Hermanson is that Hermanson does have this reach advantage, exponential reach advantage. 6 inches that's pretty big.
That's half a foot.
Well, I see that being a huge struggle for Gastelum, trying to get his striking game together, trying to get back past that advantage, trying to defend takedowns. When, like you said, his takedown defense is mid-60s. It's not the greatest. So I find that's where he's gonna struggle. I think Hermanson's gonna be able to take him down and control the distance on the feet when he needs to. So yeah, I got Hermanson winning by decision. I don't see that. I don't think there's gonna be a finish in this fight. I think it's gonna be a decision for Jack Hermanson.
Yeah, guys. So with all these fights today, there's gonna be a lot of disparities between me and Kanan's picks. I want to say there's 5 fights on the main card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 fights on the main card. And me and Kanan chose differently on 3, and this is another one of them. So whoever you're betting with this week, we're definitely going to have a winner of UFC Fight Island Week 1 picks. So for this first fight, or for this last fight for the main event, we have a title fight in the flyweight division. After Henry Cejudo retired, the belt became vacant. Or actually, he left his title behind earlier whenever he went up to 135. And these two guys, Davison Figueiredo and Joseph Benavidez, fought for the title a while back. But Figueiredo missed weight. He weighed in, I think, 4 pounds overweight. Came in, and he actually finished Joe in the second round, I believe. Or was it the first round?
Yeah, it was the second.
The second round. First round, Joe actually, yes. Now that you say that, I remember. Joe actually had a really good first round against Figueiredo, and I felt that he won the first round. However,
all the judges had him.
But in the first fight, in the second round, it was a lot closer. Figueiredo looked actually kind of tired a little bit too, which concerns me for this fight, and which is one of the reasons why I picked Benavidez, but I'll get more into that. Figueiredo leaned in. Figueiredo likes to lean in whenever he throws his shots, and he leaned in and he actually headbutted Joe, and I'm pretty sure it concussed him pretty bad and split him open, and I mean, he was gushing blood pretty bad. Even Michael Bisping was like saying he was going to throw up from the blood, and it was pretty funny. But whenever he hit him that way, and Joe looked kind of stunned, and I think he was really concussed. It only needed to take one more shot for Joe to fall, and that's exactly what happened. Figueiredo noticed that he was hurt. He ran up. He just punched him straight in the mouth, and he fell. However, Joey B's a really talented fighter. He's the last guy to beat Henry Cejudo. He went the distance with Demetrius Johnson. So Joey B is definitely not someone to count out. But I think Figueiredo's power is going to be something to be concerned about in the first couple rounds, first 1 to 3 rounds, just because Figueiredo is so powerful and he's a big guy for the weight division. However, I think Benavidez is going to come in. Benavidez seems like he's on a train trying to run Figueiredo over because he's mad about the way it happened last time, and he said that he wants to make him cry and feel embarrassed this time. And Joey B motivated is a real motivated guy. He's gonna get it done, I think. Joey B, I think, is going to outpace him throughout the fight. I think he's going to tire him out in the 3rd round, and I think he's going to finish him in the 5th round with the submission.
So now I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Both these guys come in. They're both good fighters. Joseph Benavidez has been around for a long time. I remember watching him versus Mighty Mouse in their two battles where Mighty Mouse won the fights. But Mighty Mouse is like, losing to Mighty Mouse is something a lot of people are accustomed to. That win over Henry Cejudo was huge. These guys are both finishers. They have a combined 32 finishes on the resume combined. That's insane. But Figueiredo has been hot lately. He's 7-1 in the UFC. 5 of those fights have been by finish. And in the last fight, that headbutt was hugely controversial. Figueiredo, it said in his thing that Benavidez, when he throws a punch, he looks down and he doesn't watch where he's looking. And that's where the headbutt occurred. They both believe each other caused the headbutt. There's a lot of animosity going into this fight. I think it's going to be a war. First off, Joseph Benavidez hates this man. He is angry. He is pissed off, and there's a lot of bad blood. So that is going to make this fight really interesting. Both these guys are wrestlers, so I believe that it'll be another Usman Covington, where this fight stays on the feet. Last fight, I believe Figueiredo actually took him down and had a pretty good submission attempt. I believe that. I'm pretty sure that happened in the first round. But Benavidez did win the first round on all the judges' scorecards.
Yeah, well, he did almost catch him in an armbar. I do remember that.
So I think that this fight is going to be a war. I don't think this fight is going to go into the championship rounds. I do have Figueiredo winning this fight by TKO in the first, by at least the third round. I have this fight. I don't think this fight will go the distance at all. I don't believe it'll go to the championship rounds, but I believe someone will get knocked out. I believe there will be a finish.
I think it'll be a finish too, but I just think that Benavidez is going to tire Figueiredo out and take him into that deep water in the 4th and 5th round, and he's going to drown him. I think he's going to just tap him out. But hey, we can agree to disagree, and we'll see come fight night, you know? And then whenever we do our post-fight analysis, either you'll be wrong or I'll be right. You know what I'm saying? No. But yeah. So yeah, that's it, guys, for the UFC Fight Night Figueiredo versus Benavidez card. Like I said, we're just only going to be doing the main cards for these smaller cards. And I really hope that you guys are enjoying the content, and I really hope that you guys keep coming back, and I hope that you guys keep giving us feedback so we can continue to get better. New podcast up on Spotify now. We're going to be uploading all of our post-fight and pre-fight analyses on Spotify, as well as if we do any other shows. We haven't really gotten around to doing any of the other ones yet. Also, we're going to be posting them on YouTube still, and we will be giving y'all updates on all of our socials. So follow us there. And yeah, guys, thank you for coming back. We love y'all. Kanan, if you want to sign us out, man, go ahead.
Thank you guys for coming. Y'all have a blessed day, and I hope y'all see a war this Saturday.
All right, guys. Enjoy the fights. Peace.
Later.